Protect your trauma story. I am the Ignorant Intellectual, and this is a space where you are invited to think about your thoughts. Protect your trauma story. Stop telling your trauma story over and over in an attempt to change hearts and minds. You may have seen this happen in a formal work setting or, in a casual social setting where a fact is stated about racism or history or sexual assault even, and you see what happens. The women folk or the people of the global majority go into motion to tell their trauma stories. Or get out of the comments sharing your sexual assault story to change the heart and mind of a man who got shit to say about why you would rather be in a forest with a bear than in a room with him. Protect your trauma story. It does not work. Telling your trauma story over and over to get somebody's hearts and minds to change doesn't work. It's 2024. There's so much valuable and existing information that every single solitary Black and or Indigenous person and or woman person could remain silent until forever. And there would still be enough current information that would be enough to prove what we've been saying. But we see it over and over. I see it in my work so often. We'll be doing a racial equity workshop. A statement will be made about a historical fact proving racism is a reality, and often a white man, because white men are so often given the honor of interpreting history, so that when they hear another interpretation, they don't really know what to do with it. He will deny the fact. And almost in a sweeping moment, the people of the global majority will shoot their hands up to tell the story of their trauma story in an attempt to change this person's mind. And guess what? It doesn't work. What begins to happen is a debate where somebody plays devil's advocate. Why y'all advocating for Satan? I have no idea. Somebody playing devil's advocate, somebody saying, well, what about this? And the whataboutisms come out. Listen, protect your trauma story. Protect your trauma story. Everybody is not even worthy of your trauma story. I got a theory that a lot of our quick responses to tell our trauma stories come from college essays, program essays, high school essays to get scholarships, to get entry into a program. And what we do in the application, we tell our trauma story. And I think we're just used to telling our trauma story almost without a thought. But my offering is that you protect your trauma story and that you hold it really sacred, and you think about whether this space, this person, this place, this thing is worthy of your trauma story. White people choose to be racist. There is a lot of information out here. Men choose to be sexist. If you see a statement made about why a woman would rather be in a room with a bear than in a room with a man, men can understand why that would be. If Black men in particular can understand how they are oppressed by the system of racism, surely they can understand why they're privileged by the system of sexism. White disbelief should not trigger Black storytelling. Man disbelief should not trigger woman storytelling. I really, really think that the protection of our trauma story is a form of self-care. Everybody doesn't deserve to hear the trauma story. It shouldn't be a knee-jerk reaction to share the trauma story and attempt to change the hearts and minds of someone, especially because that's an inadequate response to that. I know it feels like an interpersonal statement and you need an interpersonal response, but really the core of their belief rests on an ideological level, a structural level. And so you likely will be unable to interrupt that belief that they have with your individual story. I've seldom seen it where someone shares their story and then the other person reflects and says, Typically they come back with a rebuttal to deny your story or to deny the validity of your story. We have to start protecting our trauma stories. We must stop knee-jerk reaction, giving up our trauma stories in an attempt to change somebody's mind. And I really think that some of this is structurally created from, like I said, essays, programs, colleges, high schools. Some of the first couple of questions on these essays are often prompting us to tell our trauma story, our poverty narrative, a sexual assault story, a parental story rooted in trauma, to the point where when we're adults, we're just so used to it to change the hearts and minds of someone, we think that my trauma story will surely change this person's mind. And I guarantee you, your trauma story surely will not. It surely will not. That person is not necessarily interested in having their minds changed. They want to play devil's advocate, which is playing devil's advocate is getting it off of them, but really they the devil, and causing people to go into motion to justify why they should exist. So again, protect your trauma story. If you like what you heard, share, comment, subscribe. Let's continue this conversation in the comments. Are there times where you just knee-jerk reaction, share your trauma story? Have you thought about the reality of holding your trauma story sacred? Are you someone who admittedly prompts people to share their trauma story? What causes this reaction of immediately sharing our trauma story? Had you even considered it as a trauma story? Had you considered it as something to hold sacred that everybody doesn't get privy to? And that's something that you surely shouldn't be using almost as a weapon to get them to change their mind? Drop it in the comments. Let's continue this conversation in the comment section. Remember, this is a space where you are invited to think about your thoughts. And as usual, you ain't got to agree with me, but at least know why you think what you think. Peace.